Welcome back to our channel Rare Coins All World. In the world of coin collecting, even the smallest denomination can hold an extraordinary secret, and one such secret lies in the once in Malaysia 1997, a coin so common in appearance yet surrounded by a history that surprises even seasoned collectors. Minted during a time when Malaysia was gradually shifting its currency style, the once in Malaysia 1997 carries a charm that goes beyond its copper-coated surface. At first glance, the coin looks no different from other once in pieces of the 1990s, with the hibiscus flower on one side and the traditional design elements on the other. But numismatists have discovered that the once in Malaysia 1997 has unusual variations, making it one of the rarest modern Malaysian coins. These variations are believed to have come from minting irregularities, small production batches, and in some cases trial strikes that never reached circulation in large numbers. Collectors note that while millions of once in coins were produced across different years, the once in Malaysia 1997 stands apart because it exists in far fewer surviving numbers than originally thought. Over time, stories spread among hobbyists that some of these coins were never intended to circulate widely. Rumors suggest that the once in Malaysia 1997 may have been a transitional strike as the Royal Mint of Malaysia prepared for later changes, making the genuine surviving pieces a target of international attention. The fascinating thing is how something so ordinary looking could create such excitement. Many people still remember using the once in Malaysia 1997 in everyday purchases, dropping them into payphones or vending machines, never realizing that certain examples could become treasures worth more than entire collections. Collectors across Asia began chasing these coins in the late 2000s, and global numismatic markets soon followed. The rarity factor pushed the once in Malaysia 1997 into a category that many collectors call a modern legend, where its cultural and historical significance increases demand year after year. Specialists point out that the condition of the coin plays a major role, as pristine specimens of the once in Malaysia 1997, with full mint luster and little wear, are almost impossible to find. Each discovery of one such coin creates waves across collector forums, auctions, and news articles, feeding the myth further. What makes the story even more compelling is that such coins are hidden in plain sight. Families often keep jars of old coins in cupboards, and inside them may lie the rare once in Malaysia 1997, a piece that could change fortunes overnight if authenticated and graded by recognized authorities. The market value of this coin has been recorded in several spectacular auction results, shocking even experienced investors. The once in Malaysia 1997, depending on its rarity type and condition, has achieved values stretching from thousands of dollars, climbing astonishingly into hundreds of thousands, and in some exceptional documented cases, reaching up to $1 million, and so, the once in Malaysia 1997 remains more than just a tiny coin. It is a story of rarity, chance, and fortune. It reminds us that history and value can sometimes be hidden in the smallest, most overlooked objects, waiting for the right moment to reveal their true worth. In 1992, the Malaysian once in coin became one of the most talked about pieces in the region's numismatic world, not because of its face value but because of its rarity. What seemed like an ordinary copper coin soon turned into a legend among collectors, stirring curiosity and fascination far beyond Malaysia. In 1992, the Royal Mint of Malaysia reportedly struck a very limited quantity of the once in coin. While millions of other years were minted in high numbers, this particular year's coin somehow stood apart. The scarcity was tied to production decisions, circulation issues, and later, the eventual demonetization of the once in denomination in 2008, which made them vanish from daily USE. In 1992, many coins were thought to have been recalled or melted down, leading to speculation that only a small surviving number remained in collectors' hands. This set the stage for what would become a frenzy in the market, as collectors across Asia began searching for this elusive coin. In 1992, the design was not extraordinary at first glance, carrying the usual hibiscus flower and the words Bank Negara Malaysia. Yet, what makes it distinctive is not the design itself but the mystery surrounding its disappearance from everyday circulation. This ordinary appearance masks an extraordinary story. In 1992, myths began to grow around the once in, with some people believing the coin had errors or secret variations that made it rare. Though most confirmed pieces appear normal, the rarity lies entirely in its limited availability, making even a standard-looking coin an object of desire. In 1992, collectors began to treat the coin almost like a piece of art or a treasure. Stories emerged of people searching through old jars, drawers, and piggy banks hoping to stumble upon the hidden fortune that could be sitting unnoticed in their homes. In 1992, the rising attention pushed numismatics into mainstream conversations in Malaysia. News articles and community stories highlighted how an almost worthless denomination could, through sheer rarity, command immense value. This only deepened the myth and allure. In 1992, the coin's fame spread beyond Malaysia, with collectors in Singapore, Brunei, and even outside Southeast Asia keeping watch for its appearance in auctions or private sales. The global interest turned the 1 sen into an international curiosity. In 1992, many young collectors began their hobby inspired by the legend of the 1 sen, proving how a small copper coin could ignite passion across generations. The cultural value of the coin is now considered as great as its monetary worth, symbolizing heritage, rarity, and mystery. In 1992, the value of the coin has been recorded at extraordinary heights, with some rare pieces estimated in auctions and private sales to be worth anywhere from tens of thousands to even up to $1 million. The exact price depends on the condition and the buyer, but the coin's reputation as one of Malaysia's most valuable continues to hold strong. In 1992, the humble 1 sen transformed into an object that blends history, culture, and myth. Its story shows how something as small as a coin can grow into a symbol of rarity and immense worth, far beyond the imagination of those who once used it daily for simple purchases. In 1992, what was once a simple copper piece for candy or snacks became a treasure that now defines Malaysian numismatic history, forever remembered as the coin that rose from obscurity to be worth millions. In 1996, Malaysia continued to produce the humble 1 sen coin, a piece that most people at the time treated as everyday change, something easily forgotten in drawers or dropped on the street without thought. Yet among these coins, a few stand apart, not just because of their rarity but because of the surprising history tied to them. The coin of that year, 1996, carries with it details and errors that transformed an otherwise ordinary piece of metal into a national numismatic treasure. The 1 sen coin was part of the second series of Malaysian currency, minted in copper-clad steel. Normally, millions were struck for circulation, but in 1986, records suggest a limited mintage, with variations that slipped past the minting process. These variations include off-center strikes, double-die errors, and slight differences in the lettering or rim design. For collectors, these flaws are not imperfections, but rather signatures of extreme rarity. Malaysia in 1996 was transitioning economically, and the small denomination coin reflected the daily life of its citizens, from hawker stall payments to school canteen purchases. Nobody at the time imagined that a coin worth just 1 sen could one day attract global attention. It is this contrast between ordinary use and extraordinary value that makes the 1996 1 sen so fascinating. The obverse of the coin bears the national flower, the hibiscus, a proud symbol of the nation. The reverse shows the denomination and the year. For most years, this design was identical, but collectors soon discovered that in 1996, certain pieces carried slight inconsistencies in strike depth and font alignment. These minute details would later become indicators of the coin's rarity. Stories from seasoned collectors recount how some of these rare coins were discovered in old jars of change, tucked away unknowingly for decades. The excitement of such finds spread quickly among numismatic circles, turning the 1996 1 sen into a subject of both speculation and admiration. Forums and auctions started buzzing about this coin, cementing its place in Malaysian coinage history. What truly sets the coin apart is not only the low mintage but also the survival rate. Most 1 sen coins were heavily circulated, worn down, and eventually withdrawn. Only a handful of pristine examples of the 1996 issue survived in uncirculated condition, making them even more valuable. Condition, therefore, is a major factor in its worth today. As global interest in Asian collectibles grew, the Malaysian 1 sen from 1996 started attracting international buyers. Collectors from Europe, the Middle East, and the United States joined the bidding wars, recognizing the combination of rarity, cultural symbolism, and historical timing that make this coin special. This worldwide demand pushed its value beyond the borders of Malaysia. For numismatists, the coin also carries emotional and cultural weight. It represents an era when Malaysia was rapidly developing, and it connects older generations to a time when a single sen still had value in daily life. Holding such a coin feels like holding a piece of living history, where national identity and memory are stamped in metal. Over time, the story of the 1996 1 sen has grown into legend. Some regard it as the crown jewel of modern Malaysian coinage, comparable in rarity to much older colonial-era pieces. Its myth continues to inspire younger collectors to search through old collections and family savings, hoping to strike gold in the form of copper-clad steel. In today's market, an ordinary 1996 1 cent may fetch only a few dollars, but the rare variants in mint state condition, especially with visible striking errors, can command astronomical sums. Collectors have valued them as high as $1 million, depending on rarity, demand, and auction competition. This staggering figure shows how something so small can carry immense worth when rarity, history, and passion intersect. The allure of the 1996 1 cent lies in more than just its price tag. It reflects how ordinary objects can transform into treasures through time, circumstance, and discovery. Every serious Malaysian coin collector dreams of finding one, and every casual enthusiast is reminded that even the smallest coins deserve a closer look. Thus, the 1996 1 cent is more than just currency, it is a story of survival, error, rarity, and value. It bridges generations, excites collectors, and proves that history can live in the palm of your hand. It remains one of the rarest and most valuable coins of Malaysia, a humble piece elevated to legendary status. In 1991, Malaysia produced the humble 1 cent coin, a copper-plated steel piece that was meant for daily use in small transactions, and no one imagined that one day certain examples of this coin would be whispered about in numismatic circles as treasures worth more than gold. The coin from 1991, though simple in appearance with its bunga raya design on the obverse and denomination on the reverse, has become legendary among collectors because of a very specific minting error that separates it from ordinary issues. In 1991, the Royal Mint of Malaysia transitioned to using new blanks and new striking techniques, and during this period, a few coins left the presses with a misalignment and an off-metal strike, creating specimens that are unlike any other cent coin before or after. This error was so rare that it went unnoticed by the general public for years, but those who found and kept them by accident often had no idea of the fortune hidden in their pocket change. In 1991, another factor added to the coin's mystique. The government began withdrawing smaller denomination coins from circulation over the years, making survivors of early minting errors not only rare, but almost impossible to find in everyday transactions today. Collectors who stumbled upon the unique 1991 1 cent error soon realized that its scarcity was genuine, and demand in auctions rose steadily, especially among Southeast Asian numismatists and wealthy international buyers fascinated by unique mint histories. The few authenticated examples of the 1991 1 cent error are said to number only a handful, and this level of rarity is what transforms a coin once worth 1 cent into something closer to a work of art guarded by private collections. Stories have circulated of families who unknowingly held onto the 1991 1 cent for decades, only to later discover its status as a prized rarity when numismatic experts evaluated their coins, changing their lives in an instant. The mythology surrounding the 1991 1 cent has made it more than just currency. It has become a cultural artifact, a symbol of how everyday objects can transcend into priceless history when chance and rarity align. In terms of value, the 1991 1 cent rare error coin has been appraised at staggering amounts, with certain auctions estimating its worth close to $1 million depending on condition, provenance, and buyer demand. For those still searching, the dream of finding a 1991 1 cent hidden in an old collection box continues, but the truth is that this treasure is almost impossibly rare, ensuring its place as one of Malaysia's most legendary coins. In the world of numismatics, few stories from Southeast Asia are as fascinating as the tale of the Malaysia 1 cent 1993, a coin that many once overlooked as ordinary pocket change, yet later captured the attention of collectors across the globe. The 1 cent 1993, like most copper coins of its time, was small, lightweight, and produced in large quantities for daily use. But beneath this simple appearance, a mystery grew, one tied to minting numbers, circulation, and scarcity that would set this coin apart from others of its kind. During that year, minting irregularities occurred, and the production of the 1 cent 1993 was far lower than expected. While millions of coins were struck in neighboring years, the actual release of this particular date saw dramatic limitations, creating a scarcity unnoticed at first by the general public. Collectors later discovered that the coin's rarity was not only in numbers but also in the way many of these coins had disappeared into circulation and were quickly worn down, making well-preserved examples extremely difficult to find. This rarity was compounded by Malaysia's monetary policy shifts in the early 1990s. The small denominations were gradually being sidelined as the value of money shifted, and many of the 1 cent 1993 coins were melted, discarded, or lost before their significance could even be realized. Over time, whispers among numismatists turned into documented cases of auctions, where pristine or uncirculated ones in 1993, coins began fetching staggering bids. The coin's status elevated from a mere curiosity to a legend of Malaysian currency history. Its allure lies not just in scarcity, but in the mystique of being an everyday coin that became nearly impossible to find in collectible condition. For ordinary Malaysians, this coin represented nostalgia, but for international collectors, it became a treasure to be hunted at all costs. The coin also became a cultural symbol, showing how even the smallest denominations, so often dismissed, can carry stories of national history, economic policy, and the unpredictable path of value over time. Today, serious collectors scour private collections, old piggy banks, and forgotten drawers in the hope of uncovering a surviving once in 1993, in near mint state. Each discovery reignites the excitement, and each auction proves the demand continues to soar. In terms of value, the once in 1993 has astonished the numismatic market. In uncirculated or proof-like condition, its worth has been estimated anywhere from tens of thousands up to $1 million, depending on the grade and authenticity verified by professional coin grading services. Stories circulate of coins changing hands quietly between private collectors at sums so high they rival fine art or rare jewels. The allure lies not only in monetary value, but in the pride of possessing a piece of Malaysian history that so few others can ever claim. As time moves forward, the once in 1993 continues to grow in legend, cementing its place not just as Malaysia's rarest small coin, but as one of the most extraordinary examples of how overlooked everyday objects can transform into million-dollar artifacts. The Malaysia once in 1985 is one of the most fascinating coins ever produced in the nation's numismatic history, not because of its ordinary circulation, but because of an extraordinary rarity that has since made it world famous. Struck during a time when small denomination copper coins were still widely used, most once and pieces carried little more than face value, yet a very limited number from 1985 turned into treasures worth fortunes. The coin design follows the simple yet iconic style of the Bank Negara Malaysia issues of the 1970s and 1980s, with the denomination proudly displayed and the hibiscus flower symbolizing national identity. Millions were produced for everyday use, but within the sea of common pieces, one particular rare variety of the once in 1985 emerged as a true rarity. These were not deliberately minted collectibles, but accidents of the minting process that slipped into circulation unnoticed. What makes the once in 1985 so special lies in the unusual misstrike and off-metal errors that occurred during production. Some coins were accidentally struck on planchets meant for different denominations or even on foreign blanks, creating coins with the correct design but incorrect weight, thickness, or metallic composition. Such minting anomalies are almost impossible to repeat, and this explains their legendary status among collectors. For decades, the general public viewed the once in 1985 as ordinary pocket change, spending it freely or letting it vanish from circulation as Malaysia eventually phased out lower denominations. Only keen-eyed numismatists realized that certain versions had subtle differences, a shade of color, a weight variation, or even slight shifts in alignment, which separated the rare ones from the common masses. The rarity of the once in 1985 is compounded by the fact that many of the special error pieces were lost, damaged, or melted down over time. Surviving specimens in pristine condition are extremely scarce, and once collectors around the world caught wind of their existence, demand skyrocketed. Stories began to circulate of ordinary people stumbling upon this coin in drawers or old jars, only to discover its incredible hidden value. One of the reasons the once in 1985 commands such fascination is the way it bridges history and mystery. The mid-1980s were a period of economic growth for Malaysia, and coins were symbols of everyday life. To imagine that such a tiny, humble coin could later rival the worth of luxury assets adds a dramatic twist to its story. Each discovery is like unearthing buried treasure from a forgotten chapter of national currency. Collectors often speak of the once in 1985 in reverent tones, comparing it with other world-famous rarities like the 1943 copper Lincoln cent from the United States. Just like those legendary coins, the Malaysian piece shows how accidents in the minting process can create artifacts far more valuable than gold. Each authentic specimen is documented, graded, and treated with utmost care, as owning one is akin to holding a national relic. The journey of the Wonsan 1985, from worthless change to million-dollar collectible, reflects not only the power of rarity but also the passion of collectors who dedicate years to chasing such treasures. Auction houses in Asia and beyond have reported frenzied bidding wars whenever an example surfaces, with values climbing ever higher. The coin has become a symbol of how something once dismissed as trivial can transform into a cultural and financial wonder. Numismatists emphasize that while many Wonsan 1985 coins exist, only a very small fraction possess the error traits that make them ultra-rare. Ordinary ones remain nearly worthless, but the true rarities are authenticated through expert grading. This sharp contrast adds to the mystique, as millions of coins are out there, but only a handful might hold the key to immense fortune. In terms of value, the rarest version of the Malaysia Wonsan 1985 has been known to fetch astronomical sums, with some sales reportedly soaring up to $1 million. The combination of extreme scarcity, historical allure, and international demand ensures that this humble copper coin stands as one of the most remarkable numismatic marvels ever to emerge from Southeast Asia. In 1984, Malaysia issued the humble Wonsan coin, a piece so ordinary in appearance that most people never gave it a second glance. Struck in bronze with a plain edge, its small size and simple design made it a familiar sight in daily transactions during that period. Yet, beneath its modest exterior, a hidden story of rarity and value has grown over the decades, transforming it into one of the most sought-after treasures in Malaysian numismatics. The Wonsan of 1984 carried a design that followed the traditional series, featuring the hibiscus, Malaysia's national flower, on the obverse. The reverse displayed the denomination with the word Malaysia and the year. At first glance, there was nothing unusual, and millions were produced for circulation, meant to pass through the hands of everyday Malaysians buying simple items like sweets, newspapers, or bus fares. What makes the 1984 Wonsan coin extraordinary is the existence of rare minting errors and limited surviving pristine examples. Some were struck slightly off-center, while others bore faint misalignments in lettering or variations in metal tones. Collectors discovered that these minor differences were not just mistakes but significant markers that elevated the coin's desirability, setting it apart from the countless ordinary versions still lying forgotten in drawers and piggy banks. In numismatic circles, rarity often comes from scarcity combined with condition. While millions of Wonsans were minted, very few of the 1984 coins remain in mint state today. Those that survived untouched, still holding their brilliant luster, are exceedingly difficult to find. The passage of time saw most coins heavily worn from circulation, leaving collectors battling to secure even a single high-grade piece. The economic climate of Malaysia during the 1980s also plays into its charm. The Wonsan coin represented affordability in a simpler era, when small denominations had real purchasing power. As inflation rendered the denomination almost obsolete, the coin became symbolic of a bygone time, giving the 1984 issue sentimental value far beyond its face worth. Collectors began to notice that auction houses were recording increasingly high bids for the coin. Some examples in flawless condition fetched astonishing sums, with passionate bidders driving up prices to levels never imagined for such a small denomination. The excitement spread, and the 1984 Wonsan became a headline grabber in the collecting world, capturing the imagination of both seasoned numismatists and new enthusiasts. Its story was further enhanced by whispers and tales of specific varieties said to be even rarer. Whether due to striking dies that were retired early, or batches minted with unusual toning, these rumors gave the coin an aura of mystery. Treasure hunters scoured old collections and family savings jars, hoping to stumble upon one of these elusive variations, the kind that could change fortunes overnight. Over time, the 1984 Wonsan came to represent more than money. It became a cultural artifact, a reminder of Malaysia's journey through economic shifts and the fading of small coinage from everyday life. Its rarity transformed it into a symbol of nostalgia, scarcity, and unexpected fortune, making it far more valuable in spirit than the bronze it was struck from. Stories continue to circulate of people discovering the coin in old piggy banks or boxes of forgotten change, unaware of its potential worth. The thrill of possibly owning something so rare has created a sense of urgency, with collectors and investors constantly searching, hoping to uncover one of these tiny yet extraordinary treasures that in today's market. The rarest and most pristine examples of the 1984 1 cent coin have been valued at staggering amounts, with top auction prices reported to climb as high as $1 million. This extraordinary figure for a coin with a face value of just 1 cent demonstrates the power of rarity, history, and collector passion, proving that even the smallest pieces of metal can carry immense worth when time and circumstance align.